The celebration of the 200th episode of All in the Family begins at the Mark Taper Forum in Los Angeles, where Norman Lear greets an audience filled with couples flown in from 48 states across the country. The auditorium is full of energy as these ordinary Americans mingle, laugh, and share the excitement of being included in something so culturally significant. They are from Louisiana, Minnesota, Mississippi, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia, Indiana, Idaho, Florida, the Dakotas, Tennessee, Arkansas, and more. And their diverse origins reflect how deeply the show embedded itself into the fabric of everyday American life. Lear introduces them, allowing brief snippets of their reactions, screaming with joy at the phone call, disbelief that such luck could happen, the feeling of being on a belated honeymoon, and the promise to remain lifelong friends. These statements contain a light sweetness that highlights how television at its best can create community. Lear quotes an ancient Greek definition of happiness, the exercise of one's vital abilities along lines of excellence in a life that gives them scope. Through this cultural lens, he frames the show as work executed by writers, actors, directors, and crew. 60 people exercising talent, reaching for emotional resonance, and contributing humor and insight about the human condition. He admits their imperfections, but stresses the reach, the intention, and the privilege of having a national platform. He reminds the audience that All in the Family was not immediately successful. Only after 15 weeks did the American public discover it, and their support allowed the show to endure. This sets the tone that follows celebration, balanced with self-awareness. Behind him on stage, a scene appears of Archie and Edith Bunker in bed. Lear comments that married couples have been sharing beds for ages, but prior to 1971 television rarely depicted such domestic reality. All in the Family broke that televised convention by acknowledging normal adult intimacy. One of the show's strengths has always been its courage in displaying the mundane honesty of life. In the scene, Edith sings loudly as Archie tries to settle himself, comically revealing frustration, but also deep affection. Their interaction highlights a thread that runs through the entire series, the razor-thin edge between laughter and tears. Humans are fragile, foolish, emotional, and humorous, even in suffering. That constant overlap was the tonal heartbeat of the show. The program then shifts into more serious territory, human problems concerning health and fear, expressed through Edith discovering a lump in her breast. Gloria comforts her mother with empathy, but Edith worries about Archie's reaction. She fears changing in his eyes, revealing anxieties relatable to millions of women. Her vulnerability is real, not merely comedic. When eventually she learns the lump is a cyst relief, influences her behavior so powerfully that she leaps off the examining table and promptly breaks her ankle. Comedy once again shadows anxiety, reminding everyone that serious subjects do not exclude laughter. Dialogue reveals how the show balanced humor with empathy, always grounded in human truth. A later cut shows a frightening attempted assault on Edith. Her fear and her instinct to stall the attacker are palpable. She tries to escape with excuses, kindness, distraction. When the kitchen fire interrupts, the situation dissolves into absurdity. Again, comedy frames trauma, not dismissing it, but alleviating its sting. The show dared to explore social danger within a comedic form, something unprecedented for television at the time. The montage continues through various heated discussions about America, protests, the Bill of Rights, freedom, the right to disagree. Archie argues stubbornly about patriotism, invoking songs like God Bless America as the definitive authority on national identity. Mic objects representing a more liberal worldview, Lear emphasizes that All in the Family was built upon these debates. Conservative versus liberal tradition versus change fear versus progress. The show did not shy away from political conversation and therefore faced criticism for being controversial. Yet Norman Lear insists that avoiding reality is itself a political stance. Television of the 1,950 seconds and 1,960 seconds refused to show racial tension, economic difficulty, war, inflation, elderly struggle, women's liberation, or inequality. All in the Family refused silence. One of the show's most intense subjects was the Vietnam War. In a Christmas scene from 1977, Archie confronts draft dodger David. Emotions flare. Archie is furious at what he sees as unpatriotic cowardice. Mike argues that the war was wrong. Archie, tired of discussing Vietnam, insists that Congress, them old crocs, makes decisions precisely because they will not be the ones killed. The father of a fallen soldier enters the conversation. His presence changes the atmosphere immediately. He forgives David, stating that his dead son would want to sit with him at dinner. Archie cannot respond. He grapples silently morally. Edith pleads with him to follow the example of compassion. Archie eventually leaves the table unable to speak. The scene does not judge. It simply reveals. Interspersed with this seriousness are moments of charming foolishness, such as Edith attempting to speak into a tape-based answering machine, complaining there is not enough time between beeps. The narrator compares Edith to a Christian ideal embodied, referencing George Bernard Shaw. Her kindness is her flaw and her strength. She does good without calculation, and Archie struggles to understand that. The dialogue then shifts to marriage disputes. Edith deliberately loses a tennis match to boost Archie's pride, which angers him. Her goodness emasculates. He begs her to do something rotten to prove she is human. She cannot. This drives him to the edge of frustration. Yet when she cries, their love reasserts itself. Their relationship is not glamorous, but it is deeply human. Later, another woman questions Edith about fireworks and romance. Edith explains that her marriage is more like Thanksgiving, warm, steady, secure. It is a humorous metaphor, but emotionally rich. Archie gives Edith a gift, an eyebrow pencil, and the simplicity of the gesture betrays hidden love. Edith tells their origin story, Archie sitting in an ice cream shop, trying to get her attention using straws like walrus tusks. He is embarrassed by her retelling. She remembers every detail joyfully. Domestic intimacy is found in quirks, not fantasy. Archie sometimes accuses Edith of suffocating domesticity. He complains she wants to join him everywhere, even though sometimes he wants space. She confronts him with honesty she needs time away as well. Her declaration that she is going where the action is surprises him, challenging his claim to freedom. Comedy reveals gender dynamics gently without cruelty. The show then transitions into Archie's interpretive misuse of the Bible. Archie argues absurd positions, sometimes violent, sometimes prejudiced, while claiming divine justification. He references missionaries baptizing natives by forced locust plagues, whale bellies, and jawbones turning into donkeys. All references are misapplied, yet the comedy does not mock religion, it mocks misuse. The narrator remarks that justifying bad behavior with scripture is nothing new. Laughing at Archie becomes culturally therapeutic. Norman Lear addresses a recurring question: does Archie's bigotry reinforce prejudice? He answers indirectly by trusting audience intelligence. Americans understand that Archie's ignorance, as lovable as he may be in other aspects, makes him a horse's ass. Viewers are invited to laugh at prejudice, not normalize it. Scenes of racial labeling follow, revealing Archie's assumptions about lawyers, queerness, Chicanos, and more. He claims stupidity, hatred, and labels as natural, yet his perspective collapses against logical questioning. When asked why he used racial slurs as a child, Archie responds that everyone did, including his father. Mike challenges whether a father could be wrong. Archie becomes furious, refusing to believe a beloved authority figure could be flawed. The scene suggests prejudice is inherited, unquestioned tradition. Norman Lear reminds viewers that networks once banned references to toilets, yet now bathroom imagery and frank sexuality appear. The show was restricted from airing before 9 p.m. For its sexual honesty, though, reruns aired in the afternoon. Lear highlights the hypocrisy. Even as executives fretted over sexual dialogue, society remained saturated with sexual marketing and innuendo. Gloria discusses sexual dysfunction with her mother. Edith innocently reveals she too has experienced problems of the same nature. Archie recoils from the topic. These conversations normalize struggles, shifting taboo into the realm of empathy. Later, Gloria becomes pregnant, and Archie complains about terminology. He prefers euphemisms such as expecting or in a family way. The generational comedic disconnect exposes shifting social vocabulary. The scene about male contraceptives turns gender politics into farce. Gloria is done with IUDs and pills, demanding Michael undergo a vasectomy. Archie panics, arguing absurd biological logic about parts, and what needs protecting. Another montage shows Gloria returning from work exhausted by harassment-crowded buses and impatient customers. Archie insists families should not dump their problems into the home. His stubbornness reveals generational emotional suppression. Personal peace depends on silence, not healthy expression. Birth is depicted through comedic panic. Gloria pushes the doctor, assures the father babbles nervously. It is chaotic, joyful, and real. The baby boy is born healthy. Then Archie receives a long-distance call. He rushes from the toilet as the audience laughs. The narrator mentions that bathroom humor upset critics most, though it reflects shared human experience. Lear argues that adults should be allowed to laugh at bodily experiences just as children do without shame. A final farewell scene follows. Gloria, Mike, and their baby prepare to leave. Archie pretends to be casual, then unexpectedly embraces Mike, expressing love awkwardly. It is the culmination of years of emotional struggle. He begs them to send postcards so Edith will not worry. When the door closes, the silence is heavy. It is a moment of real loss. Humor steps aside, briefly replaced by sentiment. The audience applauds actors Carol O'Connor, Sally Struthers, and others as they come on stage. It is a moment of closure, gratitude, and legacy acknowledgement. Later, back at the bunker home, a new storyline begins tension about renting the Jeffersons' house next door. Louise Jefferson arrives wearing mink-sparking Archie's jokes about animal cruelty. Edith agrees to show the house to potential renters. She nostalgically mentions memories of Gloria bathing in sunlight while watching her son in the sandbox. When a suspicious man once watched her through the window, he eventually moved away. Her storytelling is humorous, slightly chaotic, and deeply maternal. A woman named Polly Lewis arrives and bonds quickly with Edith. They exchange first-name permission, awkwardly but affectionately. Polly remarks that if their husbands get along half as well, life will be wonderful. Archie returns home and cannot hide his prejudice when meeting Polly, though he tries to disguise it clumsily by assuming she is the maid. When Edith reveals the truth, he panics. Polly remains gracious, though her facial expression suggests she already understands the neighborhood dynamic. Edith brings sandwiches later and meets Polly's husband, Ed, who turns out to be a detective. Archie asks whether detectives can fix tickets, hinting he is already thinking about exploiting the relationship. The audience laughs at his shameless opportunism. Throughout these scenes, Edith remains kind, generous, and inclusive. Archie remains stubborn, fearful of change, desperate to preserve a world that no longer exists. Archie's paranoia grows as he worries that the new neighbors might resemble George Jefferson, a man he considers loud, stubborn, and hostile. Edith assures him that Polly's husband is pleasant and polite, but Archie pushes back aggressively. His obsessive fear of cultural change is not purely hatred. It reflects insecurity about losing control over his world. When Edith tries to frame the situation optimistically, Archie grumbles that he has already done his bit with the Jeffersons. He claims diversity fatigue as if tolerance were a renewable resource. His logic reveals a hidden exhaustion, a kind of emotional inertia that refuses to evolve. The next scenes show Edith preparing snacks and carrying food to the new neighbors. She arrives with simple hospitality, but Archie interrupts to wedge himself into the social exchange. He obsessively studies Ed Lewis, trying to determine whether the man is threatening or respectable. When Ed reveals he is a police detective, Archie suddenly transforms. Now he is flattering, respectful, and eager to bond. He blurts out his fantasy of ticket immunity, revealing his opportunistic nature. Ed handles it calmly, clarifying his position in vice associated with prostitution, gambling, and related crimes, not sanitation tickets. Archie insists that open garbage cans should qualify as vice-stretching logic until it snaps. The comedy rests on intention colliding with reality. Meanwhile, Edith and Polly continue bonding. Edith's sincerity provides emotional glue while Polly's warmth reciprocates. Archie's discomfort spikes when he realizes their closeness will create increasing interactions. He rails that nice women have nice husbands, implying that any deviation from his norm threatens his comfort. Edith counters his worldview softly, using gentle questions. She never attacks directly, but her logic disarms him. When she suggests life includes many perspectives, Archie recoils defensively. In the next moments, the bunker's nephew, Stephanie, the child they fostered through circumstance, returns. The script's tone shifts dramatically into concern about family responsibility. Steffi, an intelligent and sensitive girl, navigates school, struggles friendships, and identity. Archie acts gruff, unconcerned with grades, claiming math matters less for girls than beauty. He tells her that the most important subject is how to be gorgeous, reflecting the generational misogyny normalized in his upbringing. His dismissal of her self-worth is unconscious rather than malicious, but the damage remains. Edith, though less forceful than Gloria, subtly corrects him by encouraging Steffi's academic growth. The tension grows when news arrives that Steffi's biological father, Floyd Mills, has resurfaced. Edith fears that Floyd may demand custody. Archie insists on mental preparation, warning Edith not to fall apart. He proposes absurd coping strategies, including watering a houseplant to conserve carbon dioxide, revealing his shallow grasp of science. Edith waters a 9-year-old houseplant, provoking Archie's disbelief. Their comedic exchange also symbolizes time-passing neglect and how unnoticed objects can anchor emotional comfort. The pair debate Steffi's fate. Archie suggests offering the child back to Floyd, immediately believing emotional distance prevents pain. Edith clings to nurturing instinct, worried the child's father will be irresponsible. The argument exposes the couple's philosophical differences. Edith leans toward empathy, Archie toward control. When Floyd arrives, ragged, ashamed, and fragile, his posture reveals desperation. He compliments Steffi's stability, claiming she should stay where she is until he gets better. Edith beams relieved. Archie praises Floyd's sacrifice, framing him as noble. But the conversation twists when Floyd reveals his true motive. He asks for money, $1,000, or he will take Steffi back immediately. Archie is furious, interpreting the request as blackmail. Edith is torn between protecting the girl and protecting the household from financial exploitation. Floyd lowers his demand to $750, claiming a family discount. He attempts humor to mask shame. Edith sees pain. Archie sees manipulation. Their journey to Floyd's seedy hotel reveals environmental despair, a waterfront lodge full of drifters, suggesting systemic failure. Archie claims a cab driver refused to drive further for safety. Inside, a guest casually reports finding an unconscious man in an alley played for comedy, but hinting at real desperation. The couple sits on decrepit furniture. Archie accuses Floyd of wanting to rent or lease his child, reducing the emotional bond to a financial negotiation. Floyd insists he needs the money to enter rehab or secure temporary employment. Edith implores both men to consider Steffi's emotional needs. Archie pretends not to want the girl, proclaiming she eats too much and weighs only 40 pounds of meat consumption. His reverse psychology fails. Floyd decides to pick her up in the morning. Back home, Edith's anxiety grows. She stares blankly, trying to sew, but puncturing fabric nervously. Archie paces, clutching his head whenever Edith's emotional face triggers guilt. They ask Steffi hypothetically what she would say if Floyd returned. The child responds practically. Her school term isn't finished. She has summer plans with her friend Amy, and she is a relief pitcher in Little League. Her answer subtly conveys that roots have sprouted. Archie claims children have no deep feelings, dismissing psychological nuance. Yet Steffi's logic contradicts him. Her identity is forming here. Edith argues they should let Steffi decide. Archie insists adulthood dictates children's lives until 18. It reveals generational rigidity. Edith fears that if Floyd takes Steffi, emotional wounds will form. Archie fears if they pay blackmail, once Floyd will return repeatedly. Both fears are legitimate, but incompatible. Their argument escalates. Edith begs Archie to see that lies sometimes protect children. Archie insists lies are foundational to civilization. This statement frame comically hides deep truth. People often maintain relationships through omission. Edith recoils. Archie continues to justify his position. The script then pivots back to comedic domestic life. Steffi returns with a computer football game invitation. Archie warns computer games cause cauliflower elbows and forbids football for girls, revealing another sexist reflex. Edith insists on letting Steffi live. The battle becomes symbolic of generational evolution versus stagnation. Later that night, Edith waters phone cords, believing they might need hydration like plants. Archie, confused, argues that plants consume oxygen, suffocating him in the house. Edith corrects him, softly representing reason disguised as innocence. Archie refuses correction, reinforcing that his stubbornness is defensive. Hours pass. Anxiety rises. Finally, Archie and Edith decide to return to Floyd's hotel at night. The hallway reeks of decay. Doors slam. Strange noises echo. Archie complains about being seen entering such a place. Humor masks disgust. Floyd enters embarrassed by his own surroundings, apologizing. In a tragic moment, he reveals hope, picking bananas in Brazil, where appearance supposedly matters less. His delusion reveals how poverty distorts dreams. When Floyd demands money, again Archie stands firm. He offers nothing, expecting Floyd to call his bluff. Edith pleads for reason. Floyd then claims he'll take the child in the morning. Archie panics. Edith's fear becomes visible. She cries, begging Floyd to consider what home truly means. Floyd reveals something deeper: he has been failing. Alcohol drains not just finances, but dignity. He confesses he cannot be a stable parent, acknowledging that Archie, despite flaws, provides safety. He hands over responsibility without pride. Archie reluctantly accepts showing affection disguised as annoyance. Their relationship ends not with victory, but reluctant compassion. The narrative transitions back to the bunker home, returning to earlier comedic balance. Domestic rhythms resume. Archie complains his tie smells like booze after visiting Floyd. Edith resumes watering plants, ignoring his irritation. Steffi returns home excited, talking about school toys and friends, unaware of how close she came to losing stability. Archie overhears neighbors gossiping about the Jefferson house rental. Edith reports Polly's kindness. Archie claims he never said Polly wasn't nice. He only worried her husband might be horrible. The contradiction highlights how prejudice evolves when confronted with evidence. Archie then surprisingly admits relief that Polly's husband is a police detective, as if law enforcement justifies belonging. Yet the hypocrisy remains. He was terrified of police involvement moments earlier. The return of Polly and Ed now moved in cements the new neighborhood dynamic. They share sandwiches, coffee, and laughter. Edith accidentally spills details about Steffi's biological father. Archie tries to hide emotional vulnerability by complaining about food quality. Polly reassures him gently. Ed expresses interest in helping Steffi thrive, academically surprising Archie. Slowly, Archie warms not because of logic, but because respect was shown. Steffi's presence softens the household further. As she completes homework, Edith helps patiently. Archie grumbles but concedes. When Steffi reveals she struggles with arithmetic, Archie offers nonsensical advice about A and B, racing, asserting that B will never catch A because as a child he solved that problem the same way. Steffi smiles, politely showing she understands more than she lets on. Meanwhile, Edith and Polly deepen their friendship. They talk about decades of marriage, raising children, and quiet sacrifices. Polly shares how cities can make one forget simple joys. Edith exposes private fears about losing her daughter and grandson. They bond through vulnerability. Night falls again. Archie sits in his chair, reflecting. Without words, he realizes life has changed. Gloria gone, Mike gone, new people arrived. Steffi asleep upstairs. He hugs Edith half-heartedly, pretending fatigue. Edith smiles knowingly. She has always seen beneath his armor. The script then shifts into broader reflection. Norman Lear speaks again, acknowledging censorship battles, audience backlash, and fears about offending middle America. But he affirms that the show believed in the intelligence of ordinary citizens. The most offended voices belong to executives, activists, and politicians. Viewers themselves, the hundreds flown in for this celebration, laugh through controversy. Archie's bathroom humor reappears. He attempts to diaper a baby struggling with wipes, powder, and panic. The camera shows a brief shot of the diaper area. Network executives feared outrage, imagining entire states boycotting. They assumed the middle of the country would erupt. Nothing happened. The crowd applauded. The union remained intact. The scene exposed how moral panic often exists only in boardrooms. The show concludes with one of the most poignant farewells in sitcom history. Gloria and Mike prepare to leave permanently. Joey, their child, represents new beginnings. Edith cries, gently holding her grandson. Archie pretends to care only about taxi meters. But as Mike approaches, Archie's voice trembles. He confesses, "I know you always thought I hated you, but I love you." The line destroyed Archie's emotional wall. It was a quiet explosion. Mike hugs him, shocked. That hug is the culmination of 8 years of ideological war, mutual frustration, and reluctant respect. As the taxi pulls away, Edith waves desperately. Archie steps outside, watches silently, and swallows sadness. When the door closes, the living room feels different, bigger, and emptier. Audiences feel the shift life moves forward. In the final scene, Sally Struthers appears 6 months pregnant, smiling proudly. Carol O'Connor receives thunderous applause. The house lights rise, slowly revealing an audience not entertained, but united. They have witnessed laughter, fear, aging, conflict, compromise, and acceptance. The story continues beyond the celebration into the next episode arc. Steffi remains. Polly and Ed become real neighbors. Archie's world modernizes without his permission. He complains relentlessly, but adapts unconsciously. Edith continues with kindness, stitching together emotional wounds. Steffi learns arithmetic, baseball, and family. Her growth symbolizes hope within generational conflict. Ed's badge represents order and safety, a comforting presence despite Archie's prejudice. Polly's warmth ensures Edith finally has a friend her age. And Archie slowly learns that community is not what you preserve, it is who you welcome.